internet user. My name is Gary of Gary's Wares. I make wooden pipes out of exotic hardwoods, but today I'm going to be making a frame. A picture frame out of this stick. So the deal is, somebody went on a camping trip and with their family and they found this stick and it's sentimental. I don't know any more details than that. You can make up your own details, but that is the gist of it. And they want me to take this and turn it into a picture frame and maybe some ornaments if I have any stick left over. And that's what I'm going to try to do today. Now, if I had my druthers, I'd do it on my dad's table saw, but that's currently broken. So I thought I'd try to do it on the router table, but guess what? That's broken too. So I tried using a Dremel router attachment and making a thing, making like a little jig to do it, but the results were less than optimal with that. So what I'm going to do to make the slot is I'm going to use a Forster bit, and it's going to come out a bit like this. This is my proof of concept. So I'm going to take a Forster bit, I'm going to drill all these slots out, and then I'm going to take a file to it. I'm also going to join it. I'll just get into it. This is a really cool stick. I don't know the story behind it, but it's got a lot of character. It's got some cool knots in it and stuff like that. And it's also got this little thing back here, which I think would be great for like holding up the final frame, like to hold it up like that. So like this would be the back. And so I want this to be as like organic as possible. I don't want this to be merely used in the manufacturing of the frame. I want it to be the frame itself. And so to do that, I'm going to have to cut this at a 45-degree angle and you know, use some like joinery techniques to actually make it work. I looked on YouTube and there aren't any videos of anybody doing it like this, so I guess I have to figure this thing out for myself. So the first step is to cut out the pieces. Whenever I do something that I haven't done before, I always think a whole lot about it before I get into it. And I've always sort of thought about this as like sitting on a desk or on a shelf somewhere, but I haven't thought about this actually like hanging from a wall. And I thought that if they wanted to do that, this is going to be a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off and drill a hole in each side, and in this part I'm going to put a little metal rod so that it can be connected and reconnected, that sort of thing. So it's been cut off and I drilled the hole and did all the stuff. One thing I didn't realize when I started off is that this is cedar. And cedar is a softwood as opposed to a hardwood. Cedar is good for things like fence posts, bedding for hamster cages, pencils, but for general construction it's not very good because it tends to come apart. This split on me when I tried to put the rod in, so I had to glue it back together, and the glue is drying right now. So next, to cut the actual stick. Because the stick's irregular, I have to be careful where I cut. So I'm going to make this the top. I'm going to start the cut right here. The base has been cut, and this side is not very good. Cut this block to 45 degrees, and I'm going to use it to surface the joining edge. And you see how very much not close it is? The other side is pretty good. It came out that way because I was cutting through this big chunk, and it was irregular and etc. and so on. But this is going to fix it, and so I'm going to put it in here, and it's going to make nice 45-degree angles. I think I'm starting to see why there's not many videos on how to do it this way, because doing it this way is real tricky. You have to make sure that the joints are like oriented with one another. Like you may have a 45-degree angle this way, but you know, it may be like 45-degree rotated like that. It's tricky, that's the point. So this is going to be a 4x6 picture frame, and as such, this part right here, the bottom part, is going to lap over a bit of the bottom, which is what I wanted. So now to drill the slot for the bottom. Making the slot for the base is kind of the point of no return, so I want to make sure that I get this right. Because this is in the way, it makes it hard to tell exactly where it's going to go. So I'm going to drill a 1/4-inch Forster bit as many times as I can along this line, and then file it, and that should give me a straight slot. Okay, that came out pretty well. Now, it's not perfect. It's going to require some filing, especially when you look at it down this way. It's definitely a crooked slot. It was this big thick part that gave me the trouble. So I'm going to take a file and file it smooth, and after that it'll look a little bit like this. That's much straighter. You want this to be straight because it's going to have a pane of glass in it and you don't want it to bind or anything. So now I'm going to line up the side till I get just right, and then I'm going to mark and do the same thing on that piece. I've spent a lot of time making just these 3 lines. And the reason I'm being so careful is because I have to, well, let me jump ahead a few steps. This is my proof of concept, and it's not just merely glued together. There's actually a 1/4 inch tenon holding this together on the inside. The mortise and tenon for this joint is going to be drilled right here, just past this at a 45-degree angle, just past the slot. And it's going to be drilled like that on all of them. So that is real crucial. If you don't line up those holes just right, it'll join crookedly on the outside, and you want to avoid that. Now that's going to be kind of unavoidable being that this is irregular, but I want to avoid as much overlap as I can. And the way that I'm doing this is I put it in the vise like that, and I take the Forstner bit down to whatever that line is, and then I set the depth that way, and then just do that over and over and over and over. And here they are with the slots drilled and filed. That came out pretty well. I didn't film myself doing it because I wasn't totally confident I was going to pull it off, but yeah, that'll work. So now to drill the mortise. So here's all the pieces, and I drilled the hole like I wanted to. I didn't film me drilling at an angle because every time I think about how to describe what I'm doing, my brain cramps up, so I don't really know what to tell you. Just figure out the way to do it and try to drill as straight as you can. So let's put the pieces together. And there we go. Now I just have to glue this part and that part. This comes off. The top comes off, and so that's not going to be glued, but everything else is going to be glued together. This little stick that I cut off earlier isn't going to work in that hole. It's not the right angle. But I drilled a hole right here in the back side, and I got a hole in the back so you could store that when it's hanging on the wall. Now to glue it together. And there it is, finished. The customer I made this for is going to provide their own glass, otherwise I would have done that. And I took some hemp twine and I put it in the back so it can hang on the wall, or it's got the little stick that can stick in there, and you could do that. And I'm glad to be done with this. Normally I make wooden pipes, that sort of thing. If you like what you see, check me out. I got a website now, garyswares.com. Check me out there, Facebook or Instagram or wherever. Yeah, my name's Gary and I'm out.